You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com, and thank you.
Night Dreams Talk Radio Network brings you the World Paranormal News with James Creechbaum. Now, the latest news.
This is Night Dreams Talk Radio Network News. I'm James Creechbaum. Fishermen filmed legendary Ogopogo monster swimming through the water. A father and son were out fishing, believed to have filmed the legendary Ogopogo lake monster in a Canadian lake. The most common description of Ogopogo is a 40 to 50 foot sea serpent resembling an extinct Belisarius or a Mosasaurus. Ogopogo has been allegedly seen by First Nations people since the 19th century. However, like the notorious Loch Ness Monster from Scotland, there has never been any conclusive evidence that it exists. I would say at least 60 foot long. You could visually see it rolling in the water during this video. There was a small group of people videoing offshore as well at the same time. Google Earth user spots a huge monolith emerging from the snow. Now, the Google Earth user believes he may have found a huge Antarctic building. In the video uploaded yesterday, if you zoom in the area to find what seems like a giant square emerging from the ice. Now, from top to bottom, it's nearly a 2,000-foot, unbelievable, big square. I didn't think it was that big. It's 6 football fields long. That's massive. It's very large, very symmetrical, and looks like a building. It's kind of offshore, maybe. It's some sort of building that is huge, the user goes on to say. Stone Age DNA reveals mysterious ghost tribe. Scientists have discovered DNA from the Stone Age, but their findings were more complicated than initially expected and raised more questions than answers. Archaeologists were studying the ancient Shum Lake Laka rock shelter in northwestern Cameroon when they found Stone Age DNA belonging to a mysterious ghost tribe. This previously unknown population was among the earliest settlers in Africa. At least 4 major human lineages from 200,000 to 300,000 years ago were confirmed in the DNA. In addition to those, 4 sub-branches of human lineages from 60,000 to 80,000 years ago were also identified. There is a monument in Georgia which gives instructions in 8 languages on how to rebuild society after an unknown apocalyptic event, whilst also functioning as a compass, calendar, and a clock. If you are out in the woods and you hear a baby crying, it could be a tyrannoc. It is said that if you follow the crying, you will find a little baby in the middle of the forest. But when you pick it up, it will turn into a monster and attack you. The quietest place on Earth is an acoustic and archaeology test facility in Minnesota. The 9 decibel level is overwhelming because you can easily hear your own heartbeat, breathing, and stomach gurgles. Most people can't last 20 minutes and are very confused when they leave there. Here's a witness of a cryptid that just came in. Out of the corner of my eye, while looking down, I see something diving from the tree. In disbelief, this huge owl is standing in front of us. I'm 6'1", and this owl was pushing 7 feet plus, with outward curving ears. It had dull yellow eyes, the size of baseballs with 3 to 4 inch thick black rings around the eyes, almost the size of volleyballs. That's how big its head was. The chest looked like somebody took a sheet of silver and shredded it into shavings. These were the strangest feathers I've ever seen. I was mesmerized by the sight. Next news break tomorrow night.
Night Dreams Talk Radio, After Dark, wants to give a big shout out to all the truckers that listen to our show. You are listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio Network, from our compound to you worldwide, with your host, Gary Anderson.
And here I am. Our guest tonight is Bruce Maccabee. We're talking about his newest book, or one of his newest books, the FBI CIA UFO Connection. I tell you, Bruce is a walking encyclopedia when it comes to reports of UFOs, what they can do, what they can't do, and cover-ups and all this stuff. What do you think is going on right now with disclosure? Bruce, do you think we're going to really have this year's coming going to be a year of disclosure, or is it going to continue on like it has for the last, 40, 50 years?
I suppose I wouldn't be surprised in either case. I'd be less surprised that nothing happens than more surprised if something positive does happen. But in case you haven't noticed, this evening they showed Oak Island, followed by the Oak Island stuff. I don't know if you're paying attention to that, and the newest Project Blue Book movie. Earlier this afternoon, the High History Channel had the Unidentified series of shows with Luis Elizondo. That was shown first, I think, late last spring, and that's a pretty good series. It's definitely based in reality. With Elizondo, the Project Blue Book movie is completely Hollywood. It only connects it up with Alan Hynek as the chief, one of the chief characters in this Project Blue Book movie series. So anyway, in case you haven't noticed, there hasn't been a lot of drumbeat in the press for advocating UFO stuff. There have been a few interested newsmen who have repeatedly had shows or whatever on that mention the subject. But the big point I'm trying to get at is there hasn't been any big groundswell of pressure for investigation or publicizing UFO stuff. A witness is less likely to get told he's an idiot, I suppose, nowadays. But there's still a considerable reticence to reporting sighting events because you may be considered a little bit off balance if you do that.
Well,
The point is, in spite of the revelation with the Navy sightings publicly starting back in 2017, there hasn't been this big groundswell of opinion or activity or news reporting or whatever. Most sightings go unreported to the general press. They may get reported to MUFON or something, but so far as I can tell, there hasn't been any big effort, certainly no governmental-funded effort publicly to come to grips with this problem of what's going on. That may change with a continual drumbeat of Navy sightings, but that hasn't been enough to put a bunch of dollars on the table to find out what's really going on.
Well, I think they know what's going on, but I will tell you this. On my own show here, we talk a lot about UFOs, alien abductions, anything to do with UFOs. And, besides you, we've had other great guests on the topic. And you know what? our show numbers, the listeners, go sky high. If we start talking about ghosts and the paranormal, the listenership drops down quite a bit. We talk about ghost hunting, it drops way down, or Bigfoot. But when we talk about UFOs, I mean, we are jammed with people listening. It tells me they want to know, and they're simmering out there because they know that they exist. Once you have seen and had an encounter, you know that something is out there. And a lot of people feel like we're being lied to, which undoubtedly we are.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It may not be as blatant now. The Project Blue Book has gone away, so there isn't an official liar, you might say. Nevertheless, I think we are better off than we were 20 or 30 years ago, or 50 years ago. In the old days, back in the 50s and 60s, late 40s, 50s, and 60s, you probably wouldn't, if you saw something really bizarre, you probably wouldn't tell anybody. There were lots of airline captains who just basically said, if I saw anything, I wouldn't tell anybody. Kenneth Arnold, okay, here's a guy whose sighting resulted in the term flying saucers, and of course he became known all over the world in a day or two as a result of what he claimed. He's in subsequent months and years, he said he was so disappointed that the government had done nothing about his sighting. They hadn't even come to interview him. They accepted what he wrote, but they didn't actually interview him. And he said if he saw a barn flying by, he wouldn't tell anybody.
I wouldn't either. You know, that's just, I don't know. It seems like what they're, I don't know. People out there, there's two groups of people out there, or maybe even three, but I hear it all the time. The people that believe in UFOs to the point they see UFOs everywhere. Now, there is a guy in Las Vegas, I'm not going to mention his name, who's been putting up UFO videos of lights and stuff like that. Yeah. I had him on my show.
I know what you're talking about.
I had him on my show. I let him say what he wanted to say. Now, I also contacted the control tower down at the Las Vegas International Airport.
Good for you.
And I talked to them. They also connected me with somebody in Area 51. And I'm going to say this tonight. I was going to mention it a couple of nights ago, but I kept that kind of quiet till you came on. Well, here's what I've been told by the control tower and the Air Force. Both told me the same thing. If there was UFOs, that many around Las Vegas on a regular basis, no planes would be coming in or out of Las Vegas. Simple as that. It would be a lockdown because they would be investigating it.
Right.
I can say that. I mean, and I do know from talking to James, I also had that verified both by the control tower at the International Airport and by the Air Force. They are checking for radiation on a regular basis around the mountains all around Las Vegas because of the nuclear detonations done years ago. They're just monitoring the radiation to see if it's getting in the groundwater, if it's getting other places. They do have helicopters on a regular basis going through and checking areas for, radiation. I checked some of these sightings of so-called UFOs with some special software. Quite apparent. It's a helicopter. It comes to an area, it stops. You can just, I don't think UFOs are going to have lights on them that meet FAA standards for color. As simple as that. So I don't know.
Yeah,